Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another season of NSIC Weekly from D2Football.com. I'm Tom Frederick, play-by-play voice of the University of Sioux Falls football team. He is Matt Witwicky, the D2 columnist, so to speak, for the NSIC. And Whit, I think I hear in the background, the boys are back. The boys are back. Who sang that song, late 70s? Can you tell me?
Thin Lizzy did, along
you
with some other tracks like Cowboy Song and stuff like that. Underrated band from back in the day.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I bought their album, Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, yeah.
70s. Man.
And Tom, you're exactly right. I mean, this now feels. I mean, this is game week. We got a bunch of stuff going. Games being played in 3 days, and then after that, we've got a few on Friday and Saturday in various leagues, including, ones that are nearby and so forth. This is all of a sudden we are right in the middle of it.
Yeah, we got 14 games to pick later on in tonight's show. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm about to say we're bound to get some right with that many chances.
Didn't I win last year? I think I beat you head to head, didn't I?
I don't recall it well enough. I don't know how I could possibly have lost to you in this, but we'll go along with it.
Well, we're back for another season, Whit. I'm glad that you invited me. I didn't see any money in the envelope that contained the invitation, but I'm still here.
We're working on that. Another free trip to Texas Roadhouse will be in the mix somewhere, and that's basically the way I take care of my guy here.
All right, looking forward to that come December, perhaps.
Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead, Tom, and pull up a little bit of. I've had a lot of people who have been inquiring when we talked about the show getting going again here. What have you guys been doing in the off season? And Tom, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about what you've had plenty of things happen in your off season. Talk to us, would you?
Parlez-vous français?
Exactly, that too.
This is from France. I spent 10 days across the pond in July. My wife Sharon and I were on a tour, and I'm telling you, we saw more history than two older people should have seen.
Older people.
They wore us down to a nub. It was just bang, 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 but it was fun. Great.
That's a fascinating picture right there. That with a forest in the back, and then the signs of a dune right there.
Yep.
All in one shot right there. I mean, that had to be something for you to take in. I mean, if I'm saying that from the picture, that had to be incredible in person.
Yeah, forest there on the left, and over on the right side of that dune, the Mediterranean. Unbelievable sight. Lots of people. It was a warm day, more sand than I've ever seen before, and it's about 250 meters uphill walking those steps to get to the top of the dune, but it was well worth it.
That would have taken me a time or two. That wouldn't have been a one-time shot going up that.
I'm afraid you probably would not have made it without a Sherpa.
Yeah, I'm breathing heavy just thinking about that. But let's we're going to go ahead and move on through some of your other photos. I'll let you kind of take it from there.
Well, what's that monument on the left? Do you know it?
I believe that's the Eiffel Tower.
It is the Eiffel Tower. That's from the Trocadero on an early morning before we went to hit the high-speed train to take us to Bordeaux. We got this angle of the Eiffel Tower. It was just
how fast are the trains moving out there?
I believe 150, 200 miles an hour.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, is it the kind of speed where you feel like your life's in danger, or I mean, that's got to take a little bit of getting used to, isn't it?
Not really. It was pretty smooth, much smoother than riding Amtrak in this country, where you're rocking and rolling. I didn't feel any of that on the high-speed train.
Okay, so a pretty high-tech deal then. Okay.
Yep, it was good. And on the right, that's Tim and I went one day at practice. I think even you showed up that day.
Well, yeah, considering the fact that I'm the one who took the shot, that would make sense. But no, and it's one of those things where you can see, you'll be able to see a little bit more as we kind of carry on throughout the year. But in the shot there, you can see a little bit of the new USF turf, Tom.
Very little.
Yeah, but I mean, it's it's I think a significant change for them. There's some other teams in the league who have also had a little bit of a facelift that way. But you've been out at USF practices nearly every day as a you're retired now and you're going out and kind of seeing what the squad's doing and all that stuff. And for those who don't know, you call all the USF games, and Tim Hyatt, your partner, goes ahead and does the color for the games. Tell us a little bit about your experience with, you wake up, you go ahead, you live real close to the stadium, you go on over and unpack a little of that, if you would, for those who don't necessarily know your experience with that.
I've only missed about 2 or 3 practices, I think, this fall, and it's been very educational. They don't wear the game number on their jersey at practice, so it takes a lot of fortitude to go down there and ask position coaches who's wearing this number, so you get it straight. You memorize the practice numbers, so you know who's playing what position in August. But then when the season starts, you got to reacclimate your brain to an set of new numbers. But that's all right. They've got new jerseys, and I'm still young enough that I can handle that. The field is great. I had a chance to talk to some of the guys. I've walked on it. You've walked on it.
Yeah.
It's much better than the old field. Adonis Hutchinson, a wide receiver, says it's like running on a pillow. They've really enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah, and the colors pop off of it a whole lot more. I mean, obviously, it's all brand new, and it's great to see, that kind of change in any of the stadiums that get it. It's just it's almost like a new feature with all the stuff and the way it looks different than it did in the past. So, I would fully agree with all of that. So how was my summer been? Well, let me tell you. This is a shot for my son Wyatt and I going on over to the College World Series in Omaha. He is like the Tar Heels since he was a kid. I think it probably came from watching Michael Jordan stuff and all that, and he loves the color light blue. And so we were there watching North Carolina. And who were there? Oh, they were playing. Why is it escaping me? Anyway, they won. It was West Virginia, actually, who they played, and had a fun time with it. And we did some stuff like that. He had baseball throughout the summer, spring ball into Legion ball and all that stuff. So we were busy running around doing that for his final high school season. And I'm exhausted just thinking about that. And my son Brett was so exhausted that he and his dog Willie pretty much said, you know what, we're going to have, he's going to be a junior in high school, and kind of said, you know what, I want to have a chill summer. And he's been doing stuff on his 3D printer, and, goes and plays PS5, and smarter than I ever was. I'll tell you that right now. Gets fantastic grades. Super proud of him. And there's a shot of he and Willie in the backyard there. That is his dude. And Willie is now a year and a half old. He'll be on the show a little bit at some point. I would say every year. He's made the show last year, and then my son Wyatt. Finishing up with some baseball stuff here. There he is out in Rapid City. That was where they ended their season. The Legion championships were out there for the South Dakota. They did not win it, but you know what? That was hot as heck that day. He plays shortstop, and there he is going and getting the ball on the hot turf. And he's going to kind of continue doing that in the eyes closed picture he has with me here at Dakota Wesleyan, where we just dropped him on off, and he had his first day of classes today, Tom.
Yeah, my granddaughter freshman in college this fall as well. Her first day of classes today at South Dakota State.
Yeah, so Ben, my social media has been blowing up with all of the kids that he has grown up with who are at South Dakota State and all the other schools, and alike, and a lot of his baseball buddies where they've gone and all that stuff. So, we're going to do biochemistry there, and we're going to also play baseball in that order. So we'll see how that all goes. But before we move on, speaking of social media, Tom, you had a little bit of a crash and burn with regard to your Twitter account. You got hacked or clicked on something you weren't supposed to, and all of a sudden, your following and everything else, Tom, on Twitter gone. Now, Tom, you were like 3 weeks before we were able to convince you. After all the tears, we're able to get you to go ahead and create a new account. For those who have followed you, who don't know what happened with you in this Rocket Man thing, where all of a sudden your Twitter got taken over, how can they find you now on Twitter?
Well, it used to be at @TFredMuggs, and that got hijacked, much to my dismay. It's now at Cougar FB PXP, Cougar Football Play-by-Play. That's where you can find it.
We're expecting to see a big positive hit to your follower count after going over that right there. So
it is COUGAR FB PXP.
There we go.
Give me a follow. I'll try not to disappoint you.
Yes. So let's go ahead, Tom, and we'll move on a little bit with some of the show content. And I'll let you kind of start off with us.
Yeah, the landscape of college athletics has changed markedly since we last spoke to each other and our audience back in November. This 5-for-5 rule, it's actually, I don't know if I like that terminology, but it has to do with you now got 5 years to use as an athlete in college, regardless of sport. And no more red shirts, no more things like that. I mean, a freshman, if you're good enough to play now, they're going to throw you to the wolves. They're going to see how good you are in the trenches. And I'm looking forward to that kind of. Although, personally, I was done in college in 4 years. I don't know how many guys are going to stick around and go 5. You know what I mean? We'll see.
Well, having just seen the last year's star running back from Ole Miss he was in a game with the Browns 2 days ago or whatever it was, gets cut, and now he's going to play for Ole Miss again.
No, I think he's going to LSU, isn't he?
Oh, okay. So that's already. This is how this is, though. That speaks to it right there, Tom.
Yeah,
the fact that it's such a hot plate. Yeah, everything changes so rapidly with this, and the fact that he's going back to play college football again. So we have brought an expert, and I do mean expert, to come on and talk about this very topic, because you and I could sit here and speculate about this all night, but we want to go ahead and so for any of our programming, this is the time where we really want to talk to somebody who knows this field very well. Shane Drahota at Minnesota State deals with this on a daily basis, trying to figure out the landscape and what kind of advice to give athletes. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and bring up to the stage our guy, Shane Drahota. Shane, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. And personally, I was very excited to hear someone else knows the wonderfulness of Cowboy Song by Thin Lizzy. That's one of my favorite songs. I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. So thanks, guys.
Well, you know what, Shane, I used to manage a record store back in Chicago, back when it was cool to manage a record store, and we sold CDs and all these other pieces of physical music that not many people care about. They say it's coming back, but I'll believe it when I see it. But Tom, what do we have for Shane? What do you have to kind of unpack with him and start off for drilling our expert on this
Well,
topic.
Shane, the first thing I want to ask is what advice to an incoming athlete are you giving at this point as this landscape has changed? There's no more red shirts, 4 years of eligibility, no longer. It's 5 years of eligibility. Talk about that a little bit, if you would.
Oh, as far as advice goes, it almost kind of depends on the day of what's happening in the legal system, as far as what we can tell, our athletes in this situation. Tom, you did a really good job at the front of giving broad brush strokes about this. It's called officially in NCAA terminology, it's called age-based eligibility. And with that, colloquially, everyone calls it 5 for 5. Makes sense. Eventually, that's what it's going to turn into. I guess the advice we give athletes kind of depends where they're at in their collegiate journey. If they're true freshmen coming in, no doubt that they should have 5 years of eligibility. One thing we've been stressing in our team meetings for all of our athletes is you have the opportunity to play 5 years. It's not a guarantee. I mean, coaches still have the ability to dictate playing time based on what they think is going to be most successful for their program. So true freshmen coming in, they might be like, oh, I get 5 years. If you don't play in a year, you don't get another year down the road. It's not just an add-on. Same goes to returners. It's not just I was going to have 4 years, now I get 5 years. If you redshirted in the past, you don't get a bonus 5th year down the road. It's still condensed within a 5-year academic calendar. When you first enroll in college, that's when your clock starts now. Big change for Division II, though. Division II used to have flexibility as far as 10 full-time semesters of enrollment. And, maybe you guys have heard in the past, sometimes, especially in football, people would go part-time or not enroll in the spring semester to try and preserve an extra semester down the road, and that's gone. So that's one thing we were talking about with our returners, as far as advice goes, Tom, is that's gone. You need to adjust accordingly your athletic and academic plans.
It's kind of easy to visualize if you're an incoming freshman.
Absolutely.
But how about if you're a transfer? How does this rule affect you?
The rule is what it's supposed to be, whatever's to the benefit of a returning athlete. So if it makes more sense for them to be under the traditional rules, they get to do that. So that's the 4 years of eligibility on a 5-year clock. That gets to hold true for them if that's better for them. If it is better for a transfer coming in, and typically I'm thinking more junior college transfers. Junior college, you're playing usually right off the bat. So maybe spend 2 years at a junior college. If you're transferring to a D2 school this year, you get to have 3 more years.
Okay.
I mean, it is to their benefit to go to this new age-based eligibility. If at any point someone's redshirted, that's really going to be the line in the sand where they're really not going to get the ability to have 5 years of competition. But for transfers coming in, you're right. Everything does follow them. When they started college, that starts their clock. Any seasons that they use, that all follows them.
Shane, there's when do you see the NCAA and some of the rulings and the intent of all this start to have some real teeth? And when do we start to see there being a little bit where there's less litigation as a result, where it's like, okay, yeah, that's the ruling for now, but if we just go ahead and sue, we're good?
Yeah, it's been a whiplash this summer. I mean, this for D2, this rule is only, I think we're 18, 19 days old.
Yeah, weeks. Yeah.
I mean, this is still an infant. It's not even or a newborn, I guess. It's not even an infant as far as rules go. But the reason why the NCAA went about this is because of all the litigation. They've been getting their rear ends handed to them over the perceived inequality of rulings about medical hardships in particular, or extension of eligibility waivers, things of that nature. So the logic was, hey, if we just go to 5 years of eligibility, cap it at a certain age, because that's one thing we didn't mention at the front is when you first enroll in college, that starts your 5-year clock, but you don't get to delay enrollment forever. You basically get a gap year at most, and then your clock's starting whether or not you're in college. So you pretty much have to be by 19, you're in college and going. They're trying to eliminate those 29-year-old people that have had 9 waivers in the past to avoid that. So coming back to the lawsuits, that That's why they did this. The reason why they chose not to include people from last year whose eligibility was exhausted dealt with recruiting. I mean, so many roster spots had already been promised and offered to people that they said that the class of 26 wasn't really planning on having a fifth year anyway. That was the logic behind it. Those are a lot of the lawsuits going on that you're referencing here. So with that, what's going to stop it? It's really, I don't want to try to parrot the NCAA line here, but it's really going to take congressional action to give a limited antitrust exemption for the NCAA to enforce its own rules. Federally, there was an injunction a couple weeks ago, and it actually got overturned on appeal in Colorado that would have given nationwide status to the high school class of 22 to be able to compete a fifth year this year. But there's a lot of state level lawsuits going on and a lot of injunctions happening. And that's really the only thing I think that can stop it right now, unfortunately. And the problem is when you're relying on Congress to bail you out. First off, you put yourself in position to ask Congress for help. Secondly, you're relying on Congress to help you out. And there was hope before Congress went on break this month. It was going to happen with a vote. It didn't happen. We'll see after the break starts up here next month.
You would think if you're an incoming freshman, your eyes are big as saucers. Man, I got 5 years of competition ahead of me. Yep. But from the school's perspective, how does this affect, how coaches, how they think about the recruiting and their budgets and all that goes along with that, running the program that they're in charge of?
Those are the discussions going on in every campus across the country right now. Everyone's trying to figure out how it's going to be most effective on their own campuses. Now, I will say personally, I like this new rule on age-based. I think it's really good. The last few years with D2 football, we've had it where athletes could play in a certain amount of games as true freshmen, and then if they stop, they don't trigger a season of competition. Mm-hmm. One thing that was happening is athletes were getting to that point and then saying, I'm done. I want to preserve another year of competition. And that was a pretty tough conversation because usually coaches are like, no, you're going to keep playing or else you are going to be off the program. And this eliminates that. This eliminates the need to really try to manipulate playing time. So it gives everyone an equal footing. It creates the ability if there is a freshman that comes in and they really start to figure out as the year goes on, you can put them in at the end of the season without trying to say, oh, are we burning a red shirt or are we not? But as far as how is it going to change recruiting? How is it going to change the makeup of your team? What about the people that this year were going to be seniors and now actually do have a fifth year of eligibility next year?
Right.
Those discussions are going on everywhere and no one has a good answer right now. I just talked with our baseball coach in the hallway day, and he's sitting there trying to figure out. So he was talking to a high school recruit today, and the high school recruit said, "How many seniors you got on your team?" And he said, "I don't know."
Right.
I don't know.
Can answer definitively, right?
Correct.
Yeah. You know what? One of the viewers of our shows, RMAC Insider, asks, "What if a student athlete had a redshirt year their first year and had a medical redshirt year and have actually played 2 years?" ? What are your thoughts about kind of what they're posing here?
That is a great question. Like so many NCAA answers, the answer is it depends. What we're running into right now is 1 week from today, the ability to do extension of eligibility waivers for D2 fall sports. That's the last chance you ever have, ever. There's no more medical hardships after this year. Again, if someone gets hurt twice, that's an inconvenience for them. In high school, if you get hurt, and when I know you went through that with your son, where you don't just get to redo your junior year. That's what the NCAA is moving to. Now, as far as this specific question, I'm reading this as past tense. So if they had a redshirt year, their first year, and a medical redshirt, if they had a redshirt year, their first year, and they were eligible, they were a qualifier out of the eligibility center and got a medical redshirt, they should be able to get a semester of extension eligibility before the deadline here at the end of August. So hopefully their school has filed that for them. We are in the process of, we filed about 10 ourselves just for football. And I don't think we're out of the norm. So that individual should be able to get what we call a 6th year of eligibility based on that fact pattern.
Can you speculate how many athletes will actually utilize a 5th year of competition? As an example, let's say women's basketball. I can see them they want to be done after 4 years and move on with their lives.
Yeah.
Same thing, maybe track and field. How many athletes do you think will actually utilize a 5th season?
I think it depends on the sport. I think it depends on the athlete. You mentioned women's basketball example. One thing we didn't talk about yet, this idea was brought around last year for D2. It was supposed to be voted on in January.
Right.
And if it would have passed, it would have gone into effect this year, and we weren't having the mess we're in right now. And on the convention floor, it got pulled, which meant the people that had their hopes up from the 25-26 academic year, it went away, and then it comes around a year later anyway. But you talk about women's basketball, from our women's basketball program, we had several seniors, 3 or 4, I think, were planning on coming back. Volleyball, we had 5 seniors, 3 were going to come back. I think the general assumption is, men tend to come back for an extra year of eligibility more than women, but I think it's also become the norm that, I have 5 years to compete. And I think people will eventually start to adopt that and view it that way. One thing we've been talking about with our athletes here, we talk about age-based, we gave them a little history lesson. We explained to them up until the late 60s, early 70s, freshmen couldn't compete. So there's nothing that said 4 years has always been sacred in the eyes of the NCAA. Freshmen weren't allowed to compete. Now there are JV programs, and I get that. But, and that was actually news to a lot of our student athletes. Like, I could only have done 3 years. I guess I was born at the right time after all. So I think give it another generation of students coming through. I think a lot will plan on 5 years, but depending on the student, if it's a really high-driven academic student, maybe a biomed major who's going to have a really good job waiting for him in 4 years, high salary, he might say, I'm good, and go take that job. But I think it's going to be really random as far as what person does it, what doesn't. And those are conversations that are, if they haven't already happened on each campus and each program, they're going to happen really soon.
So when I'm talking about a player, should I describe him as a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, or should I go 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year guy, or a 5th year player? What do I do?
As dumb as it sounds, Tom, we've had that discussion. CSC, College Sports Communicators, have come out with a recommendation that we stick with freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then 5th years is the recommendation. I think internally before they made their recommendation, I was saying super seniors. But yeah, I think some schools are going to do what you're talking about, though, Tom, say 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. I think there's a certain cleanness to that, but for now, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, 5th years.
Sure. Give us, if you would, you kind of made reference to what was happening in your office with, 10 football players that you guys were looking into some things with. What nationally in Division II right now, is this a pretty wild topic? And does everybody feel like their hair's on fire at the moment with all this?
Well, for those that have hair, yes. I'm not in that group, unfortunately. That was a really old photo you had at the front, which I appreciate.
Yes.
I think when this was really started to catch fire, again, keep the fire analogy, D1 went first, and they did that at the end of June. I know we had our league meetings mid-July. In the compliance session, this is all we pretty much talked about. And it was the sense of, hey, on August 5th, there's going to be a vote for D2. If this passes, we're going to have a limited window to do extension of eligibility waivers. We aren't very well staffed at Division II compared to our Division I counterparts. Here at Minnesota State, we're lucky. We have 2 people doing compliance. That's out of the norm. Most of the schools in our league and across the country for D2 have 1 person, and you're trying to certify hundreds of athletes all at the same time. And then this gets thrown in at your busiest time of year. It's been brutal. You ask any compliance person right now, they're at their wits' end. And I'm not seeking sympathy. I have a sign in my office that says, remember, you chose this life. So I can't have too much self-pity. but it's been really hard. And it's hard for the reasons of we asked earlier, what do you tell the athletes? And some athletes, again, the expectation they heard, 5 years, I get a bonus year, and you got to be, the Grim Reaper. I'm like, no, actually, this doesn't apply to you. Other people are super excited. They're, I get 5 years after all. This is great. So emotions are all over the place. Time management is out the window. You're just trying to survive day to day right now.
I like statistics. Back in 1961, when Roger Maris hit 61 home runs, he had an asterisk because he played in 162 games, not 154. How about all the records that have been compiled through the years now?
Same thought, Tom. Same thought.
3 years or 4 years, and now at 5 years, somebody could be playing 60 games in college football as opposed to somebody who played 40, and the numbers are going to be skewed. How do we? Are a lot of asterisks going to be involved here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be up for each school to decide how to do that, quite frankly. The NCAA probably won't change their career records. But I use as an analogy, you talk about basketball in particular. We have a banner up in our gym of a guy named John Schultz, who was also my middle school basketball coach. So vested interest in John Schultz. He left MSU in 1962, I believe, as the school's all-time leading scorer, held that mark until the late 80s. But the guy that passed him had the benefit of the three-point line. If that didn't happen, and also played 4 years and John played 3. So you take away those two factors, John would have outlasted him. And then you look at the other people, not too many have passed John since then. He might have been our school's all-time leading scorer still over 60 years ago. I guess I view that as, I love John Schultz to pieces, and he was one of the greatest coaches I ever had in my life and one of the best people. I would love it if he was still our all-time leading scorer, selfishly, because but Luke Anderson is, and Luke got a benefit of an extra year. I don't hold anything against Luke. It's just times change, rules change, statistics, and football in particular is a sport. 60 years ago, it was 3 yards, cloud of dust. Wishbone came in the 70s. Now it's air attack. So the rules are going to change in the future anyway. My guess is a lot of schools are going to say that's what it is. Your career now is 5 years. And in a sport like football in particular, though, I'm curious how many freshmen end up playing. And we haven't even talked about the transfer portal aspect to all this, of how many people are going to stick around at one school for 5 years anyway.
Great point.
Well, Shane, we appreciate your time. We've taken a lot of it.
I needed something like this today, guys. It was our first day of school too, so I needed something to look forward to. So a conversation like this did my heart good.
I really appreciate you coming on with us, buddy. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Well, Tom, all kinds of good info there. Do you feel like you can speak to this stuff a little bit more if something came up on a broadcast now? I mean, the whole 50 year thing and everything else?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I agree with it or not, but it is now the law of the land, temporarily at least, until maybe somebody brings a.
Well, they didn't ask what you thought of it personally.
No, they don't care what I think. But it's interesting for sure. I was glad that Shane was on board here to give us the insider's look at the new 5 for 5 or the age-based eligibility ruling.
No doubt. Well, Tom, I'm going to go ahead and kind of move us along to a topic that we brought up last night on Inside D2 Football, our Sunday night show that we do nationally, 7 p.m. Central Sunday evenings, if you haven't seen it. We want to go ahead and get the wall of appreciation for D2Football.com donors going. And our guy, Brandon Meisner, our founder, went ahead and provided us with a list to go ahead and start from for people who have been making donations to the website itself. And we've now established a separate way for anyone watching any of our programming who likes what we're doing in regard to the programming that we're putting on. And, this is very much of a we've all of the people who are in the comments and engaged with what we're doing. We do this all because of the fact that a lot of people have interest in Division II football is kind of what we found. And we've got a QR code over to the right side there. If you happen to have Venmo, which is probably the most common payment system out there, all you got to do is, Tom, you take your phone, turn it on, and go ahead. And yeah, I mean, you go to, like, you're going to take a picture of it, and it'll take you right there. And we know if it's $10, whatever is within your means is what we have there to have a kind of a user supported forum that we have with the different shows and so forth. We aren't making a bunch of money off this. We're trying to keep the lights on with regard to what Brandon Meisner has created back 25 plus years ago with D2Football.com. And there's these putting on these broadcasts aren't free for us. Obviously, all the different means that we need to get them on and so forth. But we wanted to be able to go ahead and have an easy way, because people ask us about stuff like this. And we will be adding, Tom, to this list at the end of every week. We will go ahead and have a new list. So we're not throwing people's last names out there intentionally, because I've had plenty of people reach on out and say, hey, I want to do this. I'm not doing this to get recognized. Just want to do this. So we've kind of got that out there now, Tom, and it's a brand new thing for us.
All right. And it works. Even a 69-year-old goofball with a smartphone was able to use the QR code properly. The preseason coaches poll came out at least nearly a month ago, the first week of August. Seems like forever.
No kidding. It sure does, doesn't it? Tom, taking a look at the list here, what were your initial reactions when because you and I are going to go over, kind of a little bit later in our show. We're going to go ahead and unpack all the teams, and then we'll talk about how we have them ranked in our own Witt and Tom version of this. But what were your initial reactions when you saw this list come on out? I always have some type of reaction. What was your thoughts?
Minnesota State, Minnesota Duluth, right at the top. That's how it's always been since USF joined the league back in 2012. No changes here 14, 15 years later. No surprise to me. Augustana, right in the thick of things. They got Gunnar Hensley back at quarterback. They deserve to be near the top. Sioux Falls fourth. I've got them third in my poll. So I think the top four are probably, I'm not going to say head and shoulders above everybody else, but I think those are the four top choices. I think the coaches got it right. Maybe not in that exact order, but they got the top four correct.
There was, when I first saw this, I thought there was aspects of being heavy on order of finish last year, far more than what do they bring back for this year. And that was just kind of the immediate rub I got. Now, that said, I'm going to go ahead and we will take a look at our lists after we talk about the different teams. We've had our guy Laker was asking who's underrated or overrated, and I think you'll be able to kind of get the gist of where we think teams are and versus what the coaches had. And there's going to be some measurable differences. There really will. So, my first thought when I saw this was, the Jack Strand thing with Moorhead. That was what came off to me right off the top of my head. I also thought Bemidji, and I thought, you know what? It's been an interesting last 2 years for them because they made a deep run in the playoffs, then had a down year last year. Which version of them is there this year? I mean, that's one of the tougher things. I had a hard time with where to land on a team like that, and we'll see that here in a bit. But with that all said, I'm going to let you start to go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the awards preseason, and then we'll get into the teams.
All right. The Offensive Player of the Year preseason, anyway, in the North Division is Northern State running back Hank Kraft. Hank had a tough 2025, missed most of it due to injuries. So they're basing this on what his 2024 production was. And that was very highly productive for that running back out of northeastern South Dakota, playing for Northern State. Hank Kraft, the Wolves running back.
Yeah.
On the South, this guy, he lit everybody up last year. Sioux Falls in week 10, he scored 5 times against them and rushed for about 200 yards. He had 1,400 yards rushing last year. Dawson Forgey, the running back from Wayne State College, the South Division Offensive Player of the Week. And it's tough to argue against him.
Preseason player of the year, not just he might be player of the week this coming week, but yes,
you're right. Player of the year, my bad.
No, and also Northern's getting all the awards here, huh?
Well, this guy was a heat-seeking missile at middle linebacker last year. He had nearly 100 tackles, and he only played 7 games before he went out with injury. This guy mans the middle. He's the prototypical Mike linebacker, Jake Adams for Northern State.
Yep.
And in the South, another linebacker from Minnesota State Mankato, Jefferson Mowbray, is the Defensive Player of the Year, according to the coaches, or the SIDs, or the CSCs, or whoever made this pick.
I think the coaches actually did on this. Now, I had somebody reach out to me and say, "Wow, he wasn't the highest up in tackles or what have you." You know what? When you're on the top team and you're a top defender and you're making a ton of tackles for them, you're not on the field for as many plays as some of the other defenses. Let's be real honest. So let's back down on that thought. But
look back a few years ago, the guy who led the NSIC in tackles was a Southwest Minnesota State linebacker. Well, he had more opportunities than everybody else because Southwest defense was on the field the majority of the time. So just as an example.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always said that for people who take tackles and use that as like the only grade, it's all scale as to how many chances you had as well. I'm a little bit surprised in football they haven't come up with a tackle percentage, Tom, which comes up with how many tackles did you have based upon the amount of defensive snaps your ball club had.
Let's don't do that.
In the world of analytics, my goodness, why wouldn't they?
I want baseball. I want home runs batted in.
Did I just trigger you? Did I trigger you already?
I don't need this war. I don't need any of that stuff. Sorry.
Fair enough. Well, let's go ahead and let's start unpacking some of the squads. I'll let you start. We're going in alphabetical order, no different than the release. And Nick Cornver at the home office does a tremendous job with this. And we're basically taking the release that he put out there, Tom, and just running with it.
Yeah, Augustana went 9-2 last year in the league. They started 9-0. They lost Gunnar Hensley after 5 weeks. He is back. And he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. In the secondary, their pick to click for Augustana is a cornerback by the name of Jermaine Hampton, and he comes from your neck of the woods, the Windy City, the city of broad shoulders.
He does in Mount Carmel, famous football high school in Chicago, number 1 ranked, 4-time state champ, lost this last weekend to East St. Louis in a neutral site game at Illinois State. 42-23. Watched a little bit of it on the YouTube machine, and a little bit of a surprise. And Mount Carmel has a ton of guys that are going to play college football at various levels, but that may have been it was 1 against 2 in the state of Illinois. That may have been one of the top football games, high school games in the Midwest. That gets played this year. But Mount Carmel, a really storied program, that like you just mentioned. And, moving more towards Augustana for a moment, Tom, when I take a look at them having Gunnar Hensley back for a year and going and looking at some of the weaponry they have offensively, they were a very young football team. We talked about this last year. When they went to play that first game against Mo West, I remember thinking, this is a really young team offensively outside of Gunnar Hensley. And they weathered through all that, had a great year, 9-2. The end of the season obviously didn't end how they wanted to the last 2 weeks. I think defensively is what there's going to be their biggest challenge, Tom, is they don't have the star power and the names that people have known in the past, the Eli Webbers of the world. And who's going to be those guys for them going forward? Jermaine Hampton obviously is the guy who's most well known right now, but they're going to need some more household names coming on up, and to have a defense that has played near the level that they have been at on this run that they've been on since COVID.
Picked third in the preseason coaches poll. They are nationally ranked both in D2Football.com's top 25 and the AFCA poll.
Yep.
And here we got the Bemidji State Beavers. You mentioned last year a down season for Coach Bolte and company. They went 4-7. They've got Connor Carver back amongst their quarterbacks. He's done it with his legs more so than his arm. Defensively, from the secondary, coach's son, Caden Bolte, is manning the back half there, heading the back half.
Yeah, one of our Elite 100 representatives, Caden Bolte, originally wasn't going to come on back for another year, then did. I'm glad he did. I mean, he's one of the top defenders in the league. And when I talked with Coach Bolte, I talked with all the coaches about a month ago before they came back to camp, and Coach was talking about they really need to reestablish the line of scrimmage this year. It's an area that they have been very good at in years leading up to last year. And last year, they were just really young. And I think that's the thing to really watch. Can they go ahead and show a little bit more of that Bemidji State that they had been in years past, along with figuring out exactly how that looks offensively with, the two quarterback system and things of that sort, along with being as good up front defensively as they were during that run. I don't know if they can be. That was a heck of a run that they had a few years back, but I think they need to take that next step forward. And I think there's a real chance that they might, Tom.
Yeah, definitely a much different landscape there without Brandon Alt and without Marcus Hansen. That's for sure.
No doubt.
All right. This ball club, Concordia St. Paul, has a new coach. They're not
Coach Shue.
Coach Shue is right. He came from Michigan. He's got Concordia blood, though. He went to Concordia Ann Arbor, I believe. He's coached in the Concordia system, and now he's got the head job in St. Paul. And he's got a tough road to hoe. They were 2-9 a year ago. Expected finish this year, I believe, 12th overall out of 14 teams.
When I spoke to Coach, he had said that they had, when he got the ball club, they had about 40 guys on the roster. So they had a lot of work to do. And for those who aren't familiar with Coach, 59-25 in the NAIA as a head coach. Program closed down. He was without a job all of a sudden. Was a defensive coach for Saginaw Valley last year. And he took them to the playoffs 3 times, if I remember right, during that window. Whoops. And so, yeah, but all of a sudden we had an accident there.
Pay no attention to the man behind.
Yeah, I was going to say, all of a sudden we had a collapse. Then from there, Tom, they had a situation where he had to hire new coordinators. He had to do all these kind of things to really get this thing going. And it's going to be a matter of now, how do they gel and get all this together? And I said to him at the time, Tom, I said, I feel like I'm talking with Coach Glow a few years ago at USF, where he went ahead and kind of had almost like an expansion team. And he said, yeah, there's some feeling to that as well. No doubt about it. So that's a tough road. It really is.
He's got a good guy back defensively who was injured most of last year, Ben Rail, a linebacker, and that will go a long way to shoring things up for the Bears.
Exactly.
All right, next up, I've not had a chance to see them in person yet. I will week 2 this year. The Jamestown Jimmies.
Yeah, Yeah, I
Tom
mean, and
Dosh.
a new coach. I mean, look, a little bit of you recall when he was the head coach back in the NAIA days.
This is deja vu all over again, Yogi. Cole Henches is a great quarterback. He did a wonderful job last year as a sophomore. And not familiar with Trayton Johnson. He missed a lot of the season a year ago due to injury, but they think he's going to shore up that defensive line. And the Jimmies picked to finish 13th in the league. They opened with a former NSIC competitor this weekend, Upper Iowa. Looking forward to see how they fare down in Fayette.
Yeah, and Upper Iowa obviously, had a playoff season almost a year ago, and as we're taking a look, they bring back like 6 or 7 players on each side of the ball, returning starters, including Nate Burke at wide receiver, who is a guy who was able to make some plays for him. And, you take a look at this and you say, okay, can they take kind of that next step here? They won a game last year. Can we move up a little bit from there, bring the quarterback back? I'll be curious to see. But Coach Dosh coming back, makes things pretty interesting as well.
We're sticking in North Dakota for the time being, the University of Mary Marauders. And this young man who is picked to be their offensive player of the year, the guy to watch, is a wide receiver, Carson Jablonski. I went back and looked. The last time USF played him, 2024, he had a 100-yard receiving day.
Yep.
If they've got a quarterback who can get him the ball, he should put up some big numbers. And Christopher Federico has been around a good long while on the defensive side for the Marauders as well. Can they improve on last year's 4-7 record? I think they'll be hard-pressed to do it. But Coach Schillinger, let's see what he's got in store for us.
Well, Ryan Blair, quarterback, who was had 300 yards a game for a 3-game stretch for them. He left the program in June. It was going to be the starting quarterback, it looked like. And I want to say he went to Washington State, if my memory serves me correct. And Hudson Shelton was kind of looking at the time when I talked with Coach like the next man up, a guy who was a dual sport guy, plays baseball for them as well. And he played in their opener, made some plays against Augustana. No, I'm sorry. Maybe it was game week 2, but played against Augie, and actually they almost beat Augie. And he made some plays, dual threat guy. And Xavier Breckenridge returns at running back. So they've got some kind of pieces of the puzzle there. Their offense averaged 28 points a game last season, Tom. So there's they won 4 games. Can they repeat that or do better? That's what we're going to have to see here.
I got to see him firsthand week 4 in Bismarck.
There we go.
Next up would be the University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs, my hometown, Duluth, Minnesota, the Twin Ports, Duluth and Superior. They've got a great guy in the secondary, Preston McQueen at corner. And the offensive line at Duluth, Witt, they always seemingly have a stud up front. And this year's no different for Coach Wiese.
Well, and, they had some transfers that hit them on the O-line, but they had 2 or 3 starters coming back. Then they have, a few transfers, one from Fort Hayes, another one from Wheeling out east to fill in some spots. But Jacob Eggert is going to be the man at quarterback, and that was fairly definitive when I talked to Coach Wiese about this. Now, they don't have a lot of star power on the offensive side, a whole lot of guys who've been very productive. And I think that you're not going to see them trying to do student body right with the quarterback with the frequency they did before with Wall Jasper. Defensively, they bring back a fair amount in the back half, especially. May have as good a secondary as anybody in the conference. And I expect this is going to be a little bit of a new look for them, where maybe they're just going to have to establish the run game without the quarterback being the guy doing it all the time, which is what we've gotten so accustomed to. Feels like Walt Jasper's been there for 10 years, doesn't it?
Well, have we forgot about the guy who was there before him?
Well, no, you had Larson, you've had Bauer, you've had a whole bunch of, all forever guys. I mean, it's like they did 4 years at a time almost, didn't it?
Drew Bauer, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we've got Minnesota State Mankato here. This ball club advanced to the third round of the playoffs a year ago. They're picked to finish atop the NSIC here in 2026. Sam Backer, he started playing as a true freshman for Coach Hoffner. Nearly 1,000 yards on the ground last year, and the South Division Defensive Preseason Player of the Year, Jefferson Mowbray.
I can't think of a time where Coach Hoffner has had more returning than what he has this coming season. Both sides of the football, especially offense. You have both quarterbacks. You have two deep at running back. Wide receiver is the one position where I need to be able to see them stretch the field a little bit now that Trayshawn Watson's gone. Offensively, though, I think that they're going to run the football and become an opportunistic passing team and not look to throw maybe as much as maybe they've had to in the last few years at times. Defensively, they bring back a whole bunch and a great secondary as well. I think they are the clear-cut number one team in the NSIC, and that's why we have them third in our poll, and that's not a mistake. They're bringing back a lot, and they've proven that they can take care of business in the postseason as well.
Yeah, they're trailing only Ferris State and Harding in your poll, and wasn't that the national championship matchup a year ago?
It certainly was, and Ferris State is right now kind of on a different level, Tom. I mean, when you really look at this run that they've been on, and just a fantastic program and football team.
Moving right along, we're sticking with the M's as we are doing this alphabetically. Minnesota State University, Moorhead. Coach Steve Lockway's Dragons. Oh, boy. Jack Strand is gone, but Jack Strand is looking pretty good in the NFL preseason. Defensively is where I think Moorhead's never had a strong defense. And with now Strand gone and the defense, I don't know what this year's going to bring. They're picked to finish 8th overall in the preseason poll.
They are going to be very, very young. 24 seniors gone. They will have, I think Coach said 12 or 13 seniors in this group. And there's, a lot of key positions that they're going to be breaking in some young players. A lot of guys who are just a big deal for them in the past. And what Strand was able to do, you saw that in his final collegiate game at Mankato, where he goes and beats Mankato and runs for 100 yards in that game. I think they got 3 returning starters on each side of the ball. I just think it's a lot to ask for them just to go right where they left off when you lose some all forever type guys for that program. So I think it's going to be a challenging season for them.
Way up north to Alaska. Oh, it feels like Alaska. Minot State University running that flexbone offense. They were 10th overall. I thought they were a much better ball club than a 3-8 record would indicate. Coach Ian Shields is in his 4th year there, and I think he's got them going in the right direction. Minot State could be a team that would surprise a few people. Defending that flexbone's tough.
It is, they lose a lot of offensive skill guys. You take a look, quarterback, running back, down the line. Matt Shin, who is going to probably be the guy at quarterback, at least at the time when I talked to Coach. High school option quarterback, a guy who's got a history with this, which is really what you want when it comes to something like this. Devin Daniels, one of their top rushers, who you would thought would return, had gone ahead and gone to Oklahoma Baptist, if I remember correct, down in the GAC. Coach feels like they are more talented but less experienced. And it's hard to go ahead and think that that means a lot more wins. It feels like a similar situation. I mean, but they bring back two good guys here. Aiden Shoemate, if you take a look, he's as good as any lineman probably in the conference. A lot of coaches talk about him in the league. And Kevin Speed's a top DB as well. They just need the quarterback play is going to be really instrumental, especially the decision making in that kind of offense.
All right. Northern State University, we talked about them earlier. They have the North Division Offensive Preseason Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. I'm wondering, though, what the quarterback situation is like in Aberdeen for these Wolves who went 7-4 a year ago.
Yeah, and Ty Engelhardt, transfer who had come in from Presbyterian, is in all likelihood going to be the guy. That's what coach had said, but it sounded to me like there's going to be a 1A and 1B. And, I think we're going to see more and more of that, Tom. You take a look at the Ferris States and Minnesota State Mankato, and a lot of these programs in Division II have shown kind of how beneficial it can be to try and get your best athletes on the field and keep them both engaged and involved. So I wouldn't be real surprised. And frankly, they did that a year ago. I mean, you remember that when USF played them. It was very much to their benefit when that happened. So it was not a bad thing at all. Now, they have some turnover at offensive coordinator, and can they continue to have the success that they did from a year ago offensively? That's the key question. Hank Kraft coming back, he can be one of the top running backs in the conference when healthy. And defensively, they really like what they return. So, I think they're going to, when people got to go play up there, I think that's going to be a real tough out if that defense can stay healthy, Tom. They got real dinged up a season ago and kind of had to try and ride it out.
All right, this is the team that I follow and have been following since 1998, University of Sioux Falls, a ball club that went 7-4 last year, a little bit of a roller coaster ride, started 3-0, dropped 3 straight, ended up 7-4. Coach Glogowski in his 4th year has a dynamic offense. Hank Brown Jr. is the wide receiver who nearly had a 1,000-yard season a year ago, got injured in Concordia, St. Paul, just shy of 1,000 yards with more than 80 catches. Andy Henson, their Mike backer, missed half of last year with an injury, is back manning the middle. He's a prototypical linebacker. I'm optimistic that this ball club can improve on 7-4.
This is a club that I thought had a higher ceiling last year, but then defensively just riddled with injuries, and Henson was kind of at the front of that. Offensively, I think Tate Schaefer has stepped in and looked the part immediately. And I think that with some of that, you could make a case that with Bubba Tannen and Hank Brown, a wide receiver and running back combination as anybody else in the league have one as good as what Sioux Falls does right there. I'm not real sure if anybody does. But defensively, I think this is the key for this ball club. I really feel like if they're not at 20 points and under in terms of their average points per game, I think that's kind of a mark that they need to be at, because when we take a look at the playoff field, typically, if you're in the 20s in terms of points allowed, you're not putting yourself in a real good spot to make the playoffs in the first place. And it just kind of feels like this is the year where they should have the right guys for that defense to take a step forward. See if this is the year for Coach Glow.
I agree with you. They'll go as far as the defense carries them.
Yeah.
Southwest Minnesota State. Oh, the Mustangs have struggled. They started so well a couple 3 years ago under Coach Underwood. I think they went 3-0, 4-0 to begin the year, and then the wheels have fallen off since then. And they were picked to finish last in the preseason poll this fall as well.
Defensively, they're going to have some experience up front. They lose some key players to on that side of the ball. You take a look at the quarterback, McLeod Croughton, gives them a little bit of experience coming back, and I think that's a key thing for them to build off, Tom, because it feels like the last handful of years, it's like they've had so much instability at that position. And I thought there was moments where it looked like they could kind of get the passing game going with him. And I think that that's real important. And so I think that there's chance for them to build from that. But, they frankly have a ways to go to get to that spot.
Yeah, it is good to see that they have a returning quarterback because they've had like a turnstile there of late.
That's exactly right.
All right, this ball club from Wayne, America, Wayne State College, the Wildcats have the best running back in the NSIC in Dawson Forgy. They are missing that stud defensive end. He went to South Dakota State, Mr. Sitzman. So I don't know what the defense in Wayne, America is going to be like this fall, but they're picked to finish 5th overall in the league. That's the upper division.
Yeah, and, turnover, not only with key personnel defensively, defensive coordinator change, offensively, like you mentioned, Forgy was their situation on offense, and they came on the second back half of the season and played awesome defense and really played the kind of style that they were going to need to with their personnel. Now they bring back kind of the dual quarterback situation like we just mentioned a moment ago. I'd like to think that they're going to be a year better for that in terms of experience. And it's going to be now a matter of, can they replicate some of that success they had defensively? Because I feel like the offense is ready to take a step forward. So they've got some things to go ahead and put out there, because I'm not real sure, Tom. They're one of those teams I really had a hard time where I was going to land them in my rankings.
Dawson Forgy from Winterset, Iowa. Who's the most famous person to come out of Winterset, Iowa?
Since I don't know anyone else, I'm going to say he is.
No, it's a guy named Marion Michael Morrison.
I'll stay with him then, with Dawson then.
That's John Wayne.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I can see Laker chuckling in his chair right now listening to us.
I hope he didn't choke on chocolate milk.
That too. One last team.
All right, and that is the Winona State Warriors under second-year head coach Brian Curtin. They were middle of the pack last year, 6-5 overall, 6-4 in the conference, but they're picked to finish in the second division this year. Coaches have them 9th overall, which is quite low for Winona State. Quite the tradition there in Winona.
Yeah, this is another one that I kind of struggled with a little bit. They bring back plenty of skill guys offensively. We feel like Jackson Flotmeyer could be one of the more complete quarterbacks in this league. Hasn't quite gotten to that spot yet, but I thought he took a positive step forward last year. Defensively, their front seven, they are as deep as anybody at linebacker. And they bring back 7 guys, if I remember right, on both sides of the ball. They have a lot of new staff, coaching staff. So some of that, I think, negates some of the positive eyes I was just mentioning a moment ago. So with those kind of changes, I had a hard time landing on them also. But I think that they have a little higher ceiling than maybe some other people are looking at them, to have. And that takes us, Tom, to the big moment of truth that everybody's been waiting for, to see who did we pick in our rankings. Tom, this is yours first. Why don't you go ahead and explain, if you would, a little bit on the left-hand column, And then, kind of move yourself on over and discuss a little bit about how you see that the back half of the league being.
Well, Minnesota State and Minnesota Duluth, I mean, they're up here. Since USF joined the league in 2012, they have the top 2 records. Mankato by far and away, Duluth in second place, and Sioux Falls third. And that's why I've got them picked this year. Augustana is 4th in my estimation.
Given your history with Augie, that feels kind of high.
No, Augustana is a very good ball club. I'm looking forward to playing them October 3rd at Kirkby Over Stadium. I always like Northern State. I am impressed with what they do offensively, and that Jake Adams in the middle is a stud. Bemidji State, I'm looking at it now. Maybe I should have had Wayne in front of Bemidji, but it's locked in stone now, and there's nothing I can do about it.
That's right. Nothing you can do about that now.
The back half, it's all right there. Winona's going to be better than Moorhead. Minot will be ahead of Concordia, and the bottom 3 are Mary, Jamestown, and Southwest in that order. I don't see it any other way. How about you?
Well, let me show you how it could be another way. As we take a look on the left side of the Witt predictions, I have Augustana up at 2. I have a lot of faith in Gunnar Hensley and a lot of the weaponry they have offensively. I think, I heard Coach OJ say there may be a time where they have to outscore some guys while their defense is kind of figuring things out, and I can understand what he means by that. Duluth and Sioux Falls, I battled over who I was going to have in those spots. I would not be surprised at all if Sioux Falls was flat out better than what I have them as. Then from there, like you, I have Northern 5th. I have Wayne 6 and Bemidji 7. Then on the other side, I have Winona 8. I feel like, though, that they do have the ability to be in that top 7 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, I think there's a bit of a dip for me. And we've got Minot. We've got Moorhead. I think Moorhead is once again, I think it's just a huge ask with all of the changes they've had. And then I've got Concordia, Mary, Jamestown, and SMSU. I think not a whole lot different from what you were thinking there as well.
No, not on the back half anyway. Your top 7 a little bit slotted differently than mine, but we'll see come November. The proof will be in the pudding.
Well, and before we get to the games, we're going to take one quick look at our top 25, Tom. And in terms of the Northern Sun squads, we made reference earlier to Minnesota State being at number 3 right there. And then as we look at the rest, well, we've got Augustana at 13, which is measurably higher than what the coaches have them as. And then we have Duluth at 20. I think the Kyle Waljasper factor is probably the single biggest influence on that. And then as we go ahead and we take a look from there, that's who we have right now from the NSIC in our poll. And, certainly this is a preseason poll. After 1 week, and there's a whole lot of good games, you're going to see this get all jumbled up like crazy after 1 week of football.
And the coaches' poll is a little bit different. They've got Mankato at 5, they've got Duluth at 12, and Augie at 20. But I think you guys probably know a little bit more than the coaches do.
I'll let you say that. And so, Tom, before we get to the games, we want to go ahead and give folks a reminder, and we've got a lot of QR codes this year. And for those who have not been to our website before, feel free to go ahead and scan on the left side that QR code there for our website to go ahead and follow the latest news. Our guy Chuck Bittner does an outstanding job of updating the latest there. And then on the right side, we've got our message board forum, the most dedicated fans in Division II. If you think people talk about D2 football on Twitter, go there instead and take a look and see there's different conferences. A lot of people, you can just go, you don't even need to join and if you want to join the conversation, go there and do that. If you want to go ahead and just be a lurker like most of the head coaches in this league. You can just go ahead and do that. Tom's a lurker as well. You don't need to actually go ahead and say anything, but a lot of the rumors and things that get discussed in D2 football, you see them there first, and somebody goes ahead and puts them on out there. So once again, the website on the left, QR code on the right for the forum. And Tom, with that, we are going to go ahead and Tom, since we have so many games, you and I are going to go through these fairly quickly because we're already at an hour and 15 minutes. There's people who are yawning right now, watching, going, "Oh boy, this is a long show." But we had a lot to unpack. And Tom, with that, let's go ahead and let's get on into what games we've got, buddy.
This is Minnesota Duluth at Slippery Rock University of Pennsylvania. Minnesota Duluth picked to finish second in the NSIC. This is the first ever meeting between these two ball clubs. Slippery Rock went 6-4 a year ago, picked to finish second in the PSAC West. Witt.
Well, on our show last evening, I was the only person on our panel who did not take the home team.
Really? I'm leaning towards Slippery Rock here.
Well, and I understand they're bringing back, they're actually tough place to play. They'll have a pretty festive situation there for their night games. I love the fact that we have this football game like this, but I like Duluth to go ahead. I think Duluth's got a bad taste in their mouth after their playoff loss to Ashland, and I think they got a lot to prove here. And I think that they're going to, I think preparing for them on their defense with all the blitzing and all that stuff, Tom, I think it's a big ask for teams who have never seen it before. And I like Duluth here. Are you then going with Slippery Rock?
I'm going with the Rock, yep.
Fair enough.
We differ right off the bat. This is the game I'll be doing Thursday at Bob Young Field. University of Sioux Falls hosting Black Hills State University. Black Hills picked to finish 8th in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. The Cougars have won 8 in a row in this series, and I see it getting the 9 on Thursday night.
Yeah, Black Hills, they lose the quarterback, a superstar receiver who really gave a lot of teams trouble last season. And, you take a look at some of those guys that they were really dependent on. It feels like there's certain spots where they're a younger football team. I think Sioux Falls, if they're really going to be the team that we had kind of talked about and be one of the top or best teams in this league, they really need to go out and show up in that game Thursday and take care of business. I like the Cougars here.
All right. Winona State goes up to the Twin Cities and plays Division III Pioneer League member St. Thomas.
Interesting game. The Cougars, we just talked about USF a moment ago. They made the same trek 2 seasons ago in the game where they took forever to get on the field because it was raining and the whole deal. USF won that game and kind of won it handily, if we're going to be honest.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Winona State to pull a surprise here and get off to really get off to a great start in a local game there that means a lot in their area there, in the Minneapolis and surrounding areas. I like Winona State here. Tom, who are you taking?
I'm going with the Tommies, going with the home team.
Understood. They're clearly the favorite, but I'm taking Winona here.
All right. This is Bemidji State hosting Michigan Tech, a team that was picked to finish 3rd in the GLIAC preseason poll a year ago. Michigan Tech at home won 37-17. This year they're on the road at Chet Anderson Stadium. Oh, Witt, I didn't write this one down, but I'm going with Michigan Tech.
Michigan Tech returns quarterback, slot receiver, great defensive line. I think that, Elite 100 offensive lineman, I feel like Michigan Tech's ready to take that next step. I feel like Bemidji is still putting things back together. I'm not sure they're quite where they were before. I would love to see them represent the Northern Sun and get this game, but I got Michigan Tech in this one.
All right, this one, Minot State hosting Emporia State. Can you imagine this road trip? Last year, Minot went to Kansas, and now the Hornets have to go to northern North Dakota. Emporia won at home last year, 27-7. In the MIAA, they were picked 6th in the preseason poll. I think they win on the road in North Dakota. Emporia State is my choice.
Yeah, Emporia was a young ball club last year, and they kind of took it to Minot, and Minot was bringing back the quarterback and some of the other skill guys. I think that this can be a real dangerous game for Emporia, but I just feel like Emporia is a really athletic ball club in space. I have Emporia winning as well.
All right, this one is the Dragons, MSU Moorhead, hosting Northern Michigan, a rematch of last year. Moorhead won at 44-37, but they had Jack Strand in 2025. They don't this year. I've got Northern Michigan Ball Club picked to finish 6th in the GLIAC, winning over the Dragons.
Yeah, and Northern Michigan's moving from a option attack. From what I'm hearing, that will not be what they're running with their new coach this season. And I feel like they know more about what Moorhead's going to try and do than vice versa. And they're bringing back more of what they had from a year ago, and they're trying to be on the come up. I'm also going to take Northern Michigan in this game. If we were playing this later in the year, when the Dragons have a whole lot more under their belt, I probably would feel a little differently. But they just got a whole lot of unexperienced guys that are going to be getting their first gameplay there, and that's a tough ask. So I have Northern Michigan.
Northern State at home, entertaining Chadron State's Eagles. Chadron from the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference picked 4th in that preseason poll, and D2Football.com has them 21st in all the land. That makes this a tough choice. Northern State plays well at home. They're going to have a great crowd at the bank. But Chadron is top 25 ranked. I got to let you pick first here.
Chadron has a quarterback returning that played a whole lot of snaps. They bring back some good pieces on defense. They almost won a playoff game at Pitt State and were as good as anybody, frankly, in the RMAC last year. Good defensive ball club. I think that they will be a little bit eyes wide open, though, when you're playing a night game there at the bank. And I think Northern State's going to be amped up. I have got the Wolves winning this one over a ranked Chadron State.
First meeting between these two schools in nearly 40 years. I'd love to try and get some separation here, but I'm with you. I got to go with Northern at home, I think, the more I digest this. Let's go with Northern.
Fair enough.
All right, I'm logging it down here. We've only differed twice so far, Big Shooter. All right, this is Wayne State on the road against the Lopers of Nebraska Kearney. UNK, the 7th choice of the MIAA coaches in their preseason poll. They're at home. I got to go with the home team here. I'm going with UNK.
I've gone back and forth on this numerous times. I feel like the UNK defense and the way that they were able to go ahead and kind of dominate the football game a year ago when they played in the first game of the year was something that I feel like is something that I'm really pushing the rock uphill here with Wayne, but I'm going to take Wayne. Ooh. I think that I saw how they played in the back half of last year. I feel like they got some of that. I think that this is a rivalry game, and I think that they get their revenge here. I'm going to take Wayne on the road in this one. Great game.
All right, Quincy University is at Concordia St. Paul. Quincy of the Great Lakes Valley Conference, the GLVC, picked to finish 5th by the coaches. They played a year ago. Quincy won handily 38-7 at home. I think they go into the Twin Cities and ruin the debut of Coach Shu. I'm going with Quincy.
Yeah, I think this is also a real big ask for Coach Shu with how young his ball club is. I would love for them to prove me wrong here for the Northern Sun, but I think that it's a one that's going to be hard for them to get a win right out of the chute here. I'm going to take Quincy as well.
All right, this one, believe it or not, is at a neutral site.
Yes.
Rocky Mountain out of Billings, the University of Mary out of Bismarck. They're playing in Glendive, Montana, of all places. Neutral floor, neutral field. Rocky Mountain picked to finish third in the Frontier East Conference. You know what schools comprise the Frontier East Conference, Witt?
I know that a bunch of them, such as Dakota State, Valley City State, Mayville, Dickinson. I'm doing pretty good, huh? I feel like there's another Montana school that I haven't made. Maybe Montana, maybe Northern. And those are who come off right off the top of my head.
Montana Tech is the other one.
Ah, that's right. Who is the heavy favorite to win that league?
Right. In this neutral site game, Rocky Mountain from the NAIA, Mary from Division II. They last played 20 years ago, 2005. Mary had the upper hand when they were both NAIA. I'm going to stick with Mary. I'm going with the Marauders. Coach Schillinger, come on.
I like Mary here also. I think I like Mary taking care of business here, not just winning. I think that they may even stretch their legs a little bit in this one. I'll take the Marauders.
All right. This is Valley City State University from the Frontier East Conference, an NAIA school at Southwest Minnesota State. Valley City picked to finish fifth in the Frontier. They played in 1988, these two schools. Southwest won it then, nearly 40 years ago. And I think the Ponies are going to get a W opening night.
I'm also going to take them here. I just feel like at the line of scrimmage that I think, especially defensively, they might get after Valley City a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and take Coach Underwood to get a dub here.
Okay. This is Minnesota State University, Mankato at Colorado Mesa.
The Mavs against the Mavs.
The game to be contested in Grand Junction. All right, Mesa, according to my chart here, where are they? Where's that game? Fifth in the RMAC. Fifth in the RMAC preseason poll.
Yes. Yeah, they bring back, I want to say, 10 players on offense, but an offense that was a little challenged a year ago. They're a good defensive ball club. I just think that Mankato brings in a whole lot. I think that they're going to stifle the Mesa offense. I could be totally wrong, but I like the Mavs from Mankato to roll in this one.
I like the Mavs as well. From Mankato. And this one, Augustana goes to St. Joseph, Missouri to play the Griffins of Missouri Western on Thursday night. Missouri Western down near the bottom of the MIAA with 9th out of 10 teams. I think Gunnar Hensley comes back and looks sharp. Week 1, Vikings get a road dub.
Yeah, Missouri Western had them in a bad spot last year in that game. I was at that game at Kirkby over, and I thought maybe the Vikings were going to drop that contest, and they pulled it out of the fire. I think that they are a much different offensive team than they were at that time a season ago. I look for Augie to get that offense going, and this could be a little bit of a higher scoring contest. But I like Augie on the road as well.
All right. Last but not least, University of Jamestown, Upper Iowa University. The NSIC against the former NSIC. Upper Iowa, they're third in the GLVC preseason poll. Plus, they're receiving votes in the AFCA coaches top 25 balloting. When did Upper Iowa get good, Witt?
Well, when you change leagues and let's be honest, when you're not having to play against Mankato, Sioux Falls, Augustana, Duluth, you go down the list. They're clearly in a spot where a path to the playoffs is going to be a little bit easier than it was in the past. There's no way around that. And let's see how they do this year. I mean, they lost some personnel, but they clearly had an up season last year. Let's see if they can continue that momentum and get themselves closer and closer to a berth in the GLVC, because Indianapolis, Tom, this is their last year in playing in that conference. They will be heading on over to the GMAC with the other teams from Ohio and such. So this league all of a sudden is going to become very winnable for somebody, because you're not going to have Indy there, who's been winning it year after year.
Who are you picking?
I'm going to go ahead and take the Peacocks. I think that they've just got a lot more positive momentum built up. Now, I would not be surprised if the Jimmies went ahead and gave them quite a challenge in this one, but I've got the Peacocks in this.
I just know it's a rough road trip to get to Fayette from wherever you're at. And Jamestown, that's a long schlep for the Jimmies. I'm going with Upper Iowa as well. So in the 14 games here, Witt, we
have plenty of differences.
Just 3. You've got Wayne beating Kearney. You've got Slippery Rock falling to Minnesota Duluth. And the third one, you've got Winona winning at St. Thomas. Those are the 3 we differ on.
Well, buddy, we're going to wrap this up here shortly, because I'm on the air with Dykstra in less than a half hour. So we're going to go ahead, and we want to make sure that we make mention here of Jack Strand, and he is now, the performance that he had and how poised he looked and the arm strength and everything else. They said today that he is not out of the competition for being their number 1.
Ooh.
Let's not put that on him, but the fact that that's even in the conversation, good on you, Jack Strand.
Penix, Tua, and Strand. Jack's looked pretty good. If he doesn't land as the 3 in Atlanta, I think he beats out Cooper Rush, no doubt about it. Somebody else will snarf him up if he is passed through waivers.
Yep. And last thing, Tom, as we go ahead and kind of wrap up the show, we've had people, asking about where's Bosses and so forth. Bosses Pizza is still going. They just have had some changes that they're making with their own business and organization. They've sponsored us for 3 years and did us a great solid by doing so. That all said, in general, we're looking to see if anybody has any interest in sponsoring the show. If you're in a business where this seems to make sense to advertise with us, you get good exposure. We could go ahead and do an ad read on the show, no different than we've done in the past with Bosses. Regional shows in your area, if you want to be able to, if you're in the Minneapolis market, or let's say you're in Sioux Falls or you're in Kansas City or others like that, where we have a regional show, don't be afraid to ask us if that would be something where you could go ahead and be on that broadcast. And, including if if we go ahead and we see real strong interest, maybe a weekly ad on our social media. And if you have interest in such a thing, in the bottom right corner, go ahead and click on the QR code, and it'll take you right to your spot if you have interest in doing something along those lines.
It's been fun, but I know you got to run.
I do, my friend. And, for those tuning on in, once again, thanks everybody for going ahead and being here with us. And we're going to go ahead and see our way on out, and we will see you once again over at the games.
Fix that curtain behind you before you go.